Welcome to another episode of ActivateenCC, where we cross the chasm with community chats. Hi, welcome to ActivateenCC. We're delighted to have Hugh Forrest here with us today. We're all so excited about this. Hugh serves as the Chief Programming Officer for South by Southwest. And this year, everything has taken a change for, it's different. I'll just say different because everything is different this year. And this event brings together more than 50,000 industry creatives from across the US and around the world. Hugh was named Austinite of the Year by the Austin Chamber of Commerce. He was also in 2014, he and the other South by Southwest directors were named Austin Entrepreneurs of the Year by Ernst & Young. In addition to his work at South by Southwest, he has also served in the National Advisory Board for the Pointer Institute in St. Petersburg, Florida. He is on many boards, and I'll let you update me, Hugh, because I know that that's changing constantly. And there's a fun fact about Hugh. Before joining the South by Southwest team, he founded a small alternative publication called the Austin Challenger. I want to hear about that story. And he wrote for several other local newspapers and publications. Hugh is also a prolific writer, and his Medium blog is fantastic because he interviews the most fascinating people regularly. So on that note, Hugh, welcome to our podcast. We would love to, get more color in terms of your background, your current role, and focus.
Thanks so much for inviting me to be part of the podcast. It's a great honor to be here. As always, I think I could probably learn more from your experience and your insights here than you guys can from mine, but we'll pretend otherwise for the next few minutes. So yes, I've been at South by Southwest for about 30 years at this point. I joined in the dark ages of 1989. I was the first paid employee. Someone once told me, or I've had people tell me I should call myself the founding employee, which sounds a little bit bogus, but I will mention it nonetheless. The funny story I also mentioned in terms of my particular origin story is that I got hired because I had a computer and they didn't. So it's always a reminder of the importance of having the right hardware at the right time. And that was a Mac Plus, which I always say, is about that much of our smartphone, but it was state of the art back 30 years ago. And certainly when I came on board at South by Southwest 30 years ago, I had no idea or inkling or thoughts that the event would grow and scale to the size that it has now. So it's been an incredible ride to watch the changes, watch the transformations, see that up close and personal, see how the event has in some ways helped shape the city and just be part of that journey. So that's been really, really neat.
Thank you, Hugh. So, what 6 months of COVID has disrupted the world as we know it, disrupted our lives. What were some of the hurdles and what was the COVID silver lining? I know there's that's a whole podcast in itself, but would love to hear how you all worked through this.
Well, I appreciate your confidence that we have worked through it. I think we're still very much in the process of working through it or trying to work through it, as with everyone else. I sometimes say that in our best days, South by Southwest is where you come to learn about the future, where you see, you know, the trends that will be shaping the world in the next year or two. Unfortunately, that was somewhat the case this year with COVID also, in the sense that we were one of the first big events in the US to be canceled. South by Southwest always happens in the second week of March. We were certainly aware of COVID in February. We're monitoring COVID. We're working closely with APH in terms of whether the event was going to be able to go forward. And it seemed like we were going to, you know, just be able to slide in before it. And then things rapidly started changing late February, early March, and the city ended up canceling us on March 6th. At the time, that seemed like, did that really need to happen? Certainly, looking back on it, you know, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months later, yeah, it was absolutely the right decision from the city that the event be canceled. That said, it was devastating professionally, personally, to not put an event on that you've worked on so hard for. We had to lay off some of the staff. That was incredibly hard to do. We've never had this kinds of layoffs before. So as with everyone else out there, COVID has been a huge challenge for South by Southwest. 2 months ago or so, we announced South by Southwest Online 2021, which is next year's event. Next year's event will largely be virtual. There is some very small chance we'll have a physical event. But really, on the one hand, very, very cognizant and aware and concerned with all the challenges of an online event, particularly that we've got 30 years of producing the in-person physical event. We've done, you know, we've webcast things before, we've had live streams, but we've never put together a full, you know, a significant online event like what we're planning to for 2021, but also aware that in every crisis there are huge opportunities, and this is the very definition of a crisis-opportunity. There are some, you know, there are some silver linings here. Some of the ones that I think are most relevant is that with the online event, the price point comes down significantly. Mm-hmm. So it'll make the event a lot more accessible to a lot more people. People who unfortunately may have been shut out by the increasing prices over the last few years. And we've, particularly for this podcast, we've got a very, very low rate for students to be involved.
Oh, that's great.
We're also excited how just the mere fact of an online event will make it easier for more internationals to be involved. If you take away the factor of having to travel to Austin, having to get a hotel room, it will make it easier for even more internationals to be involved. And I say even more because internationals have grown to be a big part of the event over the last few years, but I think they'll be even bigger in 2021. And certainly our early credentials sales show that there's a high portion of people from outside the US. That's really neat. I'm a strong believer that one of the most interesting things about South by Southwest is the international community that it brings to Austin. And again, even more so in 2021 in the online space. And then the third thing that I think will be really, really great about South by Southwest Online is that it will mitigate one of our biggest pain points that we've experienced over the last decade or even before that, which was that some sessions, some screenings, some band showcases were too crowded such that you couldn't get in. An attendee had a badge and they couldn't get in. And certainly in an online space, yeah. You know, if there are 5,000 people who want to see a blank speaker, they can all get in. Whereas at the Austin Convention Center, our biggest room only held 1,800 people. So really exciting to eliminate one of those big problems for 2021. I'm also excited that, moving forward in 2022 and beyond, I think that we'll have a hybrid event. So we'll have a very, very robust in-person event, assuming that the vaccine goes as planned. We'll also have an online event that will open up our audience and help spur our kind of next growth wave in the 2020s.
That is fantastic because just the access to so many people around the globe, this could truly become a global event. And through this process, it could shift the whole industry perspective of how our event structures are changing. And I remember watching Elon Musk online because it was just difficult to get in.
Yeah.
And it was a surprise announcement, and the experience. Even though you weren't, I remember watching Esther Perel as well online because of the same thing, and the amount of great information you can access just sitting in your room and having access to that information. And the other thing that you mentioned, that students can now access some really great sessions. It can inform their career choices. It can inform their learning. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Well, again, that access point will be a lot easier in 2021 with the online structure of the event. So that's great. What is one of our challenges, and one of the things that we're spending the most time talking about, working on, thinking about, is how to create robust networking opportunities within that online platform. We know that people come to conferences, conventions, events, seminars for many, many reasons. One of the reasons is simply information, to hear Elon Musk or Esther Perel speak. But beyond that, it's also that ability to network with people, meet new people who can help your career, who can inspire you, who can be mentors to you, who can invest in your company, who can, counsel you. And that is something that we know is easier, for lack of a better word, in a physical space. When you're sitting next to someone and you strike up a conversation with them, when you're in line with someone, when you're at the same session and say, hey, that was really neat, what did you think? And exchange business cards, and that kind of networking happens. That is not quite as intuitive and is a little more of a challenge in the online space. So again, working on lots and lots of strategies to try to facilitate that as much as possible.
That's true. I bumped into Cheryl Strayed when I was at South by Southwest trying to get to one of the sessions, and I was like, oh my God. Anyway, I know, Santiago, you had a question.
Yeah, so you already mentioned that some of the things that we're going to change and that's going to make it easier for next year is the amount of people that can attend like a specific conversation or a panel or something. What are other things that are changing? Like, what are some other adaptations that you guys are doing for next year's experience?
2021 is alike in a lot of ways, and it's very, very different in a lot of ways. One of the most obvious things is the footprint is simply smaller than what we've done for the last 10 to 15 years in a real world setting. So whereas we had been 9 or 10 days for the last 10 years or so, for 2021, the event goes for 5 days. It's Tuesday, March 16th through Saturday, March 20th. That smaller time frame generally aligns with what the research is, that what people want or what people are more likely to engage in for a online event. We will also have slightly less content from a conference perspective, as well from a music festival perspective and a film festival perspective and a comedy festival perspective. Less means that in a real world event, we had, 2,000 total panels or presentations. For 2021, it's more likely 500 or so. So it's still way more than any one person can absorb, but it's significantly less than we've had before. And again, the reasoning there is just the challenges of producing something online when we don't have all that much experience. I think some of the other another big change for 2021, which we're really excited about, is that we have structured the content differently than we ever have before. We started working last February on themes for 2021. So we came up with 7 big picture themes for this year's event. We've typically had trends that we talk about at South by Southwest, or themes, but we typically don't talk about those until a month out. This year, we were much more obvious from the get-go on what we wanted to cover, and we put together these themes pre-pandemic, pre-George Floyd, but they are very, very relevant within those 2 huge stories that dominated our news in recent months. So one of the big themes for 2021 will be this theme of a new urgency, which is this idea, and I think particularly pushed with the demographic on today's podcast of we need to get some stuff done here, people. There's some real problems, and what can we do to push that forward? A second theme that's gaining a lot of traction, just in terms of overall interest, is this idea of challenging tech's path forward, which is a more critical look at technology, trying to understand and analyze how we can make sure that technology works for all of society and not just a small section of society, how we can learn from our mistakes with social media as we apply these to other kinds of technologies, how we can better understand the implications of all our technology. And I think that's very much relevant to where we are in today's world of, thoughts about breaking up tech companies, thoughts about regulating Facebook and other social media companies. So again, this way of organizing the event around themes is pretty different than what we've done before, and I think will be really exciting in a lot of different ways.
Since we're talking about technology and we're just right there, I had a question about that. You mentioned that your computer basically got you hired, and having that skill was so useful for you. And this last year, technology has been pushed to evolve so rapidly, and we have to adapt to it so quickly. So what do you think we should be focusing on, any tech trends or changes, and how should we as young people, or just generally, how should we keep moving forward to make sure we're on top of things?
Well, I think that first and foremost, that's a great question. I think that if we've learned anything in the last few years within our society and within South by Southwest, it's that technology is incredibly empowering in so many ways, but technology is also, we've got to be more mindful of all the potential negative consequences of this. South by Southwest was lucky enough to be at, have some of the early pioneers of social media coming together in Austin. And that's very much what fueled a lot of our growth in the last 15 years. But I don't know that we fully debated at events like South by Southwest the potential downsides of social media, which we've certainly seen very, very prominently in the last year, 2 years, 3 years. So that is one thing that we need to be very aware of on technology as we move forward. How do we better get a handle on this stuff before it gets out of control? Specifically with AI, which is becoming more and more a part of our lives. How do we understand the consequences of this, better anticipate the consequences of this before those consequences become out of control? We're also doing a lot more with space-related technology, and really need to be intentional in thinking about how we move forward with these technologies, and move forward with conquering or exploring other worlds and other galaxies, and do that in a much more strategic and intentional way than perhaps we would otherwise. In terms of technologies that I think are going to be really relevant and have 2021 written all over them. Certainly, where we start is where we are right now. Technologies that, such as Zoom, that have powered us through the pandemic, work from home technologies that bring us together, and we'll continue to see innovation in this space. I think we'll continue to see more and more innovation within VR, XR, AR. The pandemic opens up a lot of opportunities here. Price points of these technologies are lowering, so there's a lot to digest there. And I think another really interesting thing and a really exciting thing, and particularly with regards to younger generations, is game technology, and how that is morphing into so many different ways, whether that is, bands doing concerts on Fortnite or any other platform, or AOC, interacting with people via Twitch. We're seeing huge growth in gaming platforms during the pandemic, and we're also seeing more and more creative ways where these kinds of gaming technologies are being used for other things in our society. So I think that's really exciting. We're doing more and more gaming stuff at South by Southwest, and I think we're in a really good position as gaming continues to just morph out and penetrate all these other elements of our society. So I'm really excited to see how that develops in the near and long-term future.
And I know that even if you look at the way South by has started to play such a key role in making these conversations happen and actually pushing the button where whether it's through your panels, your speakers, you're always at the forefront, always at the cutting edge of, I call it the cutting edge of the present and the future. And as well as, I know that you've also brought in speakers from your past back in who have actually contributed and said, so there's this beautiful blend of history where we look at what we did and what we are learning from it, and then bringing those lessons to how we can navigate the future. And this is so important that this platform continues to exist so that we can be the guardians of what we want to co-create together. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for the nice words there. And I think those last few words you mentioned are really, really extremely important. Again, I've been at South by Southwest for far too long and seen it move from a mainly music event to covering film and technology to something that now brings together politicians and athletes and chefs and people from the gaming industry and all kinds of people from all these different industries. The commonality amongst these speakers, these attendees, this community is extreme creativity. that's the thing that hasn't changed in 30 years. The South by Southwest focuses on very, very creative people. We bring creative people together. And certainly it goes without saying that if we're going to make it through the challenges of COVID, the challenges of the pandemic, the challenges of working from home, living from home, being socially isolated for so long, we're going to have to be incredibly, incredibly creative in terms of our process, our approach to the life we knew for so long. So creativity has never been more important. Certainly that is another layer on top of this idea of our coming reality of AI, where we have machines that can do more and more basic work, but that means that creative work becomes even more important, and humans are really, really good at being creative, and that's what sets us apart from the machines, and that's what we've always celebrated at South by Southwest.
Absolutely. So Hugh, I remember 5 years ago, I think, that you mentioned on one of our conversations, you wanted to write more. And you have been. I've been following your posts on Medium, your articles. And how do you find the time to do that? Because South by Southwest is not some small event. It's and also, how do you decide who you get to speak to and interview?
Well, I've been doing a lot. I had started a project back around that time that we talked before, where I was trying to write 4 paragraphs a day on Medium. And this was inspired by hearing Seth Godin on a podcast with Tim Ferriss talk about, if you write 4 paragraphs a day, it'll make your life better. So I'll try that. I actually did that for 3 or 4 years, had some content I was pretty proud of, other content I was like, this is okay. And then I kind of stopped right around when COVID hit. Then I restarted to what you're saying now, just doing interviews with people primarily in Austin. There's so many creative people in Austin. So many people to choose from, so that's been pretty easy. But the whole idea of just trying to force myself to write something, get something out there, create some kind of presence on a platform. I'm definitely more comfortable writing than doing podcasting or doing video casting, but to each his own. And I think that, as with anything else, it is a matter of getting yourself into a routine, and it doesn't become significantly easier when you get into a routine, but it becomes somewhat easier where you learn how to set aside this 15 minutes, this 30 minutes, this hour every other day to write that thing, and take small steps forward, and then eventually have something that you can be pretty proud of.
Beautiful. Sarah, you had a question.
I do. I'm going to pull us right back into South by Southwest because I'm really excited about it. So we sign up, we log in, right? What does it look like right after that? What is the experience like? And are there like any cool little Easter eggs that you can let us know about, stuff y'all have hidden in there?
I can't, if we had Easter eggs, and I told you they wouldn't be Easter eggs anymore. So they're
Easter eggs.
This is like your Fight Club question. Rule number 2 is you don't talk about Fight Club. So the experience of South by Southwest Online, it'll be a interface that is hopefully very simple to use, that helps you navigate to whatever content is on a specific channel at that point, or whatever video on demand is on there. As with a real world South by Southwest event, you'll have numerous different choices at any one given time to pull from. And as before in this conversation, also numerous different choices in terms of networking, connecting with other people, from around the US and around the world who are very, very focused on creativity, very focused on new ideas, on meeting people, on making connections that can lead to new things. So we hope it's we know it won't mimic a real world event, or it won't completely mirror a real world event, but we hope that it will offer a lot of the best aspects of South by Southwest.
Is there anything new or unique that can be facilitated because it's online that you guys are excited about?
I think that, one of the challenges of online is that you will lose that serendipitous factor of networking. And you're not going to be able to, you're not likely to run into Cheryl Strait in the hallway and go, oh my God. But you are going to be able to be, I think, a lot more targeted in your networking. Hey, I'm a young filmmaker and I want to meet other filmmakers. This is the best way. Going to this meetup or going to this session is the best way to meet those people. And so what you lose in serendipity, I think you'll gain in intentionality, and that's pretty neat.
I like that. And then on Zoom or wherever we are online, you actually get to see everyone's names there. So
oh yeah, that's
you can stalk people. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Santiago, you had a question.
Yeah, so as far as like we already talked about, Sarah mentioned like what can we do to stay on top of things technologically, but like moving forward, as far as like the work that the world needs, what skill sets should people like young listeners or us, what skills should we get in order to just be able to offer the world what it actually needs at the moment or in the future? Sure.
That is another great question. I am a firm believer that, again, as I said before, I'm a believer in the power of creativity. I'm a believer. I'm kind of a generalist in terms of my educational background, and I think I'm a generalist in terms of how we've programmed South by Southwest. I think that that you're better prepared for success in the world, for opportunities in the world, if you know a lot about a lot of different things, as opposed to a ton about any one particular topic. And that's always one of the things that we encourage at South by Southwest is, if you're involved with social media and you come to South by Southwest, great. But avoid the panels on social media. You'll probably know more than the speakers. Avoid the meetups on social media. Instead, go to the sports related sessions or the food sessions or the government sessions or the sessions on transportation. And that way you'll expand your network, you'll expand your knowledge, you'll expand your number of opportunities. So again, that's my general counsel in life also, and to the younger audiences, try to learn about as many different things as possible. Again, learning about those many different things, being able to make creative connections between those things, I think helps prepare you better prepare you for the future, and particularly a future where creativity is never more important than it has been now.
Definitely. I know that's looking at it from a perspective of us attending to and learning from all these awesome panels. Living in Austin, it was super exciting to be able to volunteer for South by. What are some ways that like teens and college students can get involved for this festival for this year?
Well, we still need lots of volunteers. The volunteers are one of the things that has made South by Southwest so successful, such a compelling event that people from Austin and around the U.S. and around the world come in and give their energy to the event, and that is really truly special. We also like to get ideas, speaking ideas from students, from younger people. That process has concluded for 2021 speaker ideas, but we'll open that up again next summer. If you're in any of these creative communities, summer is generally the time when we're accepting ideas, whether that be new short films, new feature films, tapes from bands or CDs from bands, where startups can apply to be involved with South by Southwest Pitch. So again, the more engagement that we can have with our creative community in Austin and around the US and around the world, the stronger we are. And so just encourage people to try to engage with the platform as much as possible.
So Hugh, I'm always amazed at one of the things is how gracious you are. Whenever, and I've heard it, it's not just my experience, whenever, and I've heard it from others too, whenever we email you, and I'm sure your inbox has thousands of emails, you always, you're always the first to respond, whether it's a yes, whether it's a no, whether it's a maybe. What are your life hacks? What were some of the things that you learned to do well right from the beginning, and then just kept going and refining it as you went along?
I don't think I have too many life hacks. This is a short answer. I mean, the thing that I have embraced a lot more in recent years is waking up early during the week and trying to get an hour or 2 hours in of processing emails before my day starts. I hate waking up early. I'll say that. Everyone hates waking up early, but I've convinced myself that it's painful to wake up whenever you wake up. So you can, just get it over with, and then it's done, and then sleep in on the weekends. But that is been if there's any kind of a hack, it's waking up early in the week and doing emails. I appreciate your nice words on responding to emails and being open. I mean, the idea is there is just, understanding that the community is what makes South by Southwest special. It's not what Hugh Forrest does. It's not what anyone else who gets a paycheck at South by Southwest does. It's all of us. It's everyone in Austin. It's everyone around the U.S. It's everyone in the world who has ever spoken to South by Southwest, who has ever been to South by Southwest, who has ever watched South by Southwest online. This is what makes the event special. This is what makes the event compelling. The more we can respect and engage with that community, the stronger we are. So again, trying to respond to people, trying to engage to people, that is just hopefully a reflection of that respect we have for the community.
Thank you. Santiago, you had.
If you could go back in time and give any advice to your teen self, what would you say to him?
My 2 points of advice, one big picture, the other less so, more directed. Be patient. It's a journey. Certainly, I didn't, know at 18 or 19 what I wanted to do with my life. Other people did, and that was great. But for me, it's been a journey. I still don't really know what I want to do with my life, and I'm significantly older now. At some point, I'll figure it out. But again, it's a journey, and you move from one thing to another. And I think some of the most interesting people who have the most interesting careers are people who really embrace that journey and understand that you'll do a lot of different things. And I think that your generation is much better at that than my generation. So kudos there. The other thing that I would advise, and that I, totally dropped the ball on, is be more aggressive in learning foreign languages. I didn't learn foreign languages in high school, and I've tried to pick them up more recently, and I'm just horrible at it. But I really believe that's an important skill. to be able to communicate with different cultures, that's never been more important than it is now, and moving forward. And so that's something that I would strongly encourage younger people to do. As painful as it is, or sometimes can be, the more you can connect with other cultures through different languages, the better you are.
I love that. You know, in the age where everyone's being told that coding, die or code, you know, the fact that we're bringing it back to humanities and to culture and language is so important.
Good. Well, and then you can teach me how to code too. I'd love to be able to do that, but I have got no idea there. We can have that lesson starting next week whenever you're ready.
Yes, actually, we just finished a 4-week Python class.
Nice.
Yes, I tried to learn. I don't know. I think I'm still stuck in lesson 1. But Hugh, this is fantastic. Any other questions, Sarah, Santiago?
Thank you so much for having me on. It's again a real honor to be here. A real honor to connect with you all. Thanks for the nice words. And I'll just reiterate that South by Southwest is a community event. Great to connect with the community. 2021 is a tough year for everybody, ourselves included. We're excited about what we have to offer for South by Southwest Online 2021. We're even more excited that we will likely be back to a real world event in 2022. And as painful as the pandemic is for so many people, I think we're going to learn some neat skills out of this and come out even stronger. And I'm really excited about that.
I think it has been a humbling experience.
Yeah.
COVID has. And I think you are right. Absolutely. I love that. Community events. On that note. Thank you so much, Hugh.
Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciated your time with us.
Absolutely.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel and to turn on the notification bell for our latest videos.